Good evening, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are in this wonderful world of ours. Thank you so much for joining in. Today is March 11th, 2024. We are in the midst of our first, when I say hour, I'm speaking of the C.H.L.M.S Medi-Helpz International Women's Health Event. And not health event, history. I'm so sorry, excuse me. It's the history event. The health event, the history event. I'm screwy, right? It's the history
It's
event.
been a long day.
It's the history event because actually May, the month of May, is actually Health Month. So we'll be back. We will be back in May with actual health. But today is all about the history of women and those women who are stepping up and not just stepping up, but they're stepping out and not just stepping out, but they're talking and most importantly, they're doing. Because what sense does it make to actually have a circle of people that are just talking with no action, right? We want talk behind action. So the two young ladies that I'm going to introduce to you in a moment are doing both. They're talking because they're actually educating as well as doing because they actually have workshops that you or anyone you know that might be interested could sign up for and actually become a member and actually learn more about the subject that they speak of. So, who are those two young ladies? Well, first we have Lark. Lark Ambrose works with growth minded individuals, helping them to cultivate the mental resilience needed to thrive in every aspect of their lives and they as they navigate life events planned and unplanned with less fear, stress, doubt, and worry. As a certified business coach and on the way to becoming a certified, check this out, y'all, a positive intelligence coach. She draws from her experiences as a former finance professional and entrepreneur to support professionals near retirees and athletes. Now based full time in the Caribbean, Lark's return to the region continues to be one of personal evolution. Her mission is to make life easier for all people who cross her path. She now hosts immersive coaching experiences for individuals and small groups up to 8 people, condensing years of healing work into an impactful 5 days on the beautiful islands of St. Lucia and Trinidad. And then her partner, I like to when they do what they do a Wednesday room. And I have to actually, they don't know this. They didn't know this. So I'm telling them now. I call them the two partners in crime when it comes down to getting the group together and having the attendees that attend their events coming in and making us think, like really making us think about what's in us, what draws us, what where are we at in this whole life thing, right? And they do such an excellent job feeding off of each other and working well with each other. LJ, she is a certified leadership facilitator, a professional certified coach, and learning and development professional with over 20 years of experience leading high performing teams in the pharmaceutical industry. LJ supports the achievement of individual manager and team potential through the development of interpersonal and leadership skills. She is a strategic behavior change. LJ has provided training and facilitation to a broad range of industries, including pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, medical devices, universities, and other commercial and not for profit enterprises. As senior manager of learning and development, LJ was responsible for developing the affiliate capability, leadership, and personal development strategies and initiatives. These included improvements of coaching skills for people leaders, communication, emotional intelligence, and other leadership qualities. So before I turn the the stage over to them and have them introduce themselves as well as introduce their programs. What I do want to say is that for those of you that are watching via Facebook, please put your Facebook comments into the chat. For those of you that are watching via LinkedIn, please put your comments and your questions into the chat on LinkedIn. What will happen is at the end of their presentation, we will try our best. Well, I will try my best to answer all comments that have come through. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to turn this event over to Lark and LJ.
Well, thank you so much, Sandra. I just want to first of all thank you for hosting this event that acknowledges the work and just the backbone of society that we as women are. So thank you so much for facilitating such a group of events that are going to unfold. You've done an amazing job with the introduction, so I'm not going to belabor anything else further. I just want to say thank you and welcome to everyone who's listening, and invite everyone to share. If this is something that you think is going to be impactful, do share it on whatever platform it is so that we can have more people present live. LJ, any words before we jump into our first story for the night?
Just a thank you, Sandra, and as well, just what amazing work you do.
Thank you. Thank you. So I thought that tonight we will start with a story that just illustrates a perspective. As women, we lose sight of this perspective. And when I speak about women, it's not to say we're the only ones who have it, but tonight that's who we're celebrating. So we're just going to speak, or I'm going to speak to that group. So we start with the stallion story. And the story goes something like this. In a village, way back centuries ago, there was a farmer who had the most beautiful stallion. He entered the stallion into a competition. The stallion won. And so all of the villagers came rushing to the farmer, expecting to share in the joy of this moment with him. To which he responded,
I thought I was villagers. Who can say if it's good? Who can say if it's bad?
And so the villagers were a little puzzled by this because there were no cartwheels, there was no effervescence of emotion here. But they went away, and a few days later, the stallion was stolen. It disappeared. And so the villagers, now recognizing that this had happened, came rushing back to the farmer. Oh my goodness, we're so sorry. We heard what happened. You must feel absolutely distraught. I mean, that's just awful what happened. To which the farmer responded,
who knows what is good and who knows what is bad?
They're confused. Like, first of all, the guy wins and we're just jumping up and down for joy and he's mellow. Then he loses this prized mare, mellow. Anyway, they go away, go about their business. A few days after that, the mayor returns. Not only does he come back, he brings 2 other mayors with him. Well, everybody is ecstatic in the village now, because now this guy's got 3 absolutely stunning mayors. And they just know that he's now increased his odds of winning the following year's competition by 3. So they come rushing over to him, and they are joyous. And they know for sure that he is going to join them in this amazing celebration. To which he responds,
who knows what is good and what is bad?
Okay, really, they have no idea. Like, what is up with this guy? What does it take to get a rise out of him, right? They're up, they're down, don't know what's going on. All right, so his son is also really excited, this farmer's son, really excited that he's got 3 amazing animals to work with. And so he's busy breaking in one of the newer, older mares, but he falls and breaks a leg. The villagers are now really sure that they are going to communicate to the farmer just how distraught they feel for him. And they're going to come and commiserate with him and share this absolute pain that they know that he is going to be absolutely demolished emotionally by. To which the farmer, to their puzzlement, responds,
"Who knows what is good and what is bad?"
they're like done. They're done. So they walk away, and everyone's settling into their norms. A few weeks after that, the general in the army comes by. It's time to conscript because a war has broken out, and it's time to gather all the young men in the village. So they show up, knock on the farmer's door, open up, and what do they see? The farmer's son, who has a broken leg, who cannot be conscripted and go off to war. It is right around this time when they finally begin to understand what we call, in the language of mental fitness, the sage perspective. So I know what the farmer said and what you will all join me in saying. What is good and what is bad? Who's to say what is good and what is bad? So I personally love this story. I feel this story illustrates to us that everyone has the capacity to learn and to change. Things happen in life, they come at us from all kinds of directions, which we have no control over. What we do control is the perspective that we take, which will then influence how we behave. So, LJ, I know that we have a quote that people have heard, I'm sure, for sure, that we want to share.
It's one from Henry Ford, and it's, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." And when I first heard this, it took me a minute maybe more than a minute, to wrap my head around it. But it's so true. It's here. It's our belief in ourselves.
Yep. And when we look at our lives as women and women in the workplace, we want to talk about how may this show up for us? How do we respond to things? And what are some of the ways we can navigate through all of the challenges that life presents to us? And so there is an illustration that we would want to share. So I guess I will jump in here and just share about this journey. Amazing young superstar in her job, doing really well. Super performer. That's the person that everybody wanted on their team, right? She's proud. She's really doing well. She's making everyone proud, and she earns herself a promotion. She is now a manager. So of course, expectations are high for her personally and for those around her. She's so proud. She's thinking of the impact that she'll have on her team. She has the perfect plan, and she knows how she's going to teach people how to do all of the amazing things that she has done to earn her place. She knows the journey to success, and she is going to make sure she imparts it all. Review time comes around, and man, she is super excited because she can't wait to be recognized and to be rewarded for how she has marshaled her troops. She's thinking she will have rock star status and an amazing bonus.
However, the feedback that she heard was not what she expected. And although these weren't the words used by her manager, what she heard was, "She sucks. The team doesn't like her. She is bossy. She's a micromanager." All, very direct words that I'm sharing, but that is what she heard and what was being communicated in nicer language. In that moment, she has the ability to decide how to respond. It goes back to what the story that Lark shared. She could get defensive. And I'm going to ask, if you want to put it in the chat, what are some of the ways that she might respond? The ones that we know of, she could get defensive. She could blame it on the team. It's not me. I did everything right, but they didn't listen. They weren't open to being coached. They didn't want to change. Or she could give up. She could quit. Or she could take a moment to reflect on herself and then decide to work on herself, on perhaps being more aware of what is coming across to others, being more aware of how others want to be interacted with. She had no clue that the team was unhappy, so she clearly wasn't paying attention to other people's signals. And this isn't really too surprising. Based on research by somebody at Wharton named Tasha Eurich, although around 95% of people think they're self-aware, less than 20% are. I've seen 10%, 15%, 17%. So very few people are actually aware of how they're coming across. It's kind of a scary stat.
Mm-hmm. So LJ, here she was, high-performing individual, contributed a lot. She got to exhibit all of the strengths of being well organized and being able to think things through, marshal the troops and just feel so energized. But something went wrong. She had skills, she had super skills and strengths, but something went wrong. What went wrong? Why did her impact not reflect the intent?
I love that comment of the intent not matching or the impact not matching the intent. What I've observed is that many organizations rely on the strengths that were observed in one role and expect them to be transferred to the management role. The management role is very different, and often organizations don't set people up for success. They may train them on the details, how to improve an expense report or something, but not necessarily on the people skills that are required. So to get powered for clarity, it is essential to understand at least 3 aspects of yourself to start. How do you function under stress? Specifically, what strengths are you overusing or abusing? In the case of our new manager, working on her own, she took charge of getting her own results. She did super well. She was a rock star, as Lark said. However, as a team manager, she had to get results to others, and she overused the strength that she had, and she became controlling. So if I could, see the audience, I would ask, show of hands for how many people have had a micromanaging, controlling boss.
Right. Right.
We know what that looks like. So when she didn't get the results that she wanted, she moved from being outcome focused, she wanted results, to being a controller and a hyperachiever. So that's one thing. How do you function under stress?
Mm-hmm.
Another one is think about the strengths that are important for the role, and if they're strengths that you have, how do you best leverage them in that situation? That's kind of an obvious one. Which strengths do you need that you haven't tapped into? Just because it's not a recognized strength doesn't mean that you can't develop it, that you can't pull it. Perhaps it's something you're really good at home, but you don't bring it to work. So how can you bring it to work, for example? Or could you lean into somebody else who has that strength? So another point to think about. And the last one is, what are some thoughts or self-talk that are getting in your way, that end up sabotaging your efforts and intentions? And I think women are especially perhaps, I was going to say guilty of this, but it's not something to be guilty about, prone to doing this, the imposter syndrome. And we can often get in our own heads. Everybody does it, but I think women do it a little bit more. So Lark, what would you like to add?
Well, I'd love to also ask Bart for his brilliant contributions back there. No worries. Yeah, no worries. I'll just continue on. It's important to show up. It's important for us to understand how we are showing up when we're under pressure, And it is important for us to understand what our strengths are. It's not always immediately apparent. And sometimes we run into these instances where, like this woman, she was a rock star when she was on her own. So there is potential there, and somebody somewhere along the line saw it. However, she was ill prepared, and there's that transitional period there. And so, oftentimes, as LJ had pointed out, you have that's decision making time, right? You can sink or swim there. You can just throw your hands up in the air. They don't like me. This is just too hard. I was blindsided. All of these things. And is some of that possible? Sure. But we have no control over that. What we do have control over and how we can help ourselves in that situation is to tap into our own self awareness. We can start tapping into, wait, let me just make sure I understand me. I know when I'm under stress, this is where I tend to go. It may not be my best self in those moments. But if we're not even aware of that, then we don't know what we need to be working on. We don't know that it's our strengths that we are overusing and abusing and taking us into a territory that ends up showing so much more differently than we intended. Right. So I just wanted to highlight on that because it's so important. It's easily missed. It's critical in any work environment to build rapport quickly and to be able to respect different styles. So sometimes, as LJ said, I'm sure at some point in time in our careers, we can identify some managers who were super micromanaging and controlling, and we may not have appreciated that they're panicked and scared and they're feeling pressured to perform. So they're not really concerned. They're not aware. I shouldn't say they're not concerned. They're not aware of how that's translating to everyone else. It's not translating on how they're showing up and the impact that they're having on others. So it's really important to understand ourselves first of all, and understand how we show up for ourselves in different states and under pressure, and also when we can understand what's happening with others, then we know how to engage with them, right? We can then create an environment where everybody can win because that's what we all want. We all want to win. We all want to win. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It was more just a highlight and just to encourage everybody, seek out that self-awareness, seek out tools. This is the age of the internet, right? This is the age of the internet. So much is on the University of YouTube out there. And so a lot of things that we can do self-directed. Naturally, I am a coach. I did things the hard way. And LJ can share stories too, and maybe we'll have time to do that, where we took the long, painful, non-productive road to learn lessons, right? As coaches, that's what we do. We try to shorten that gap. We try to help people. Don't repeat. We've already done all of the do. Like, you don't need to do that too. You don't need to have that negative impact on yourself, on your family, on the people that you work with. We really want to help everybody to win. We want to create winning environments. We want to create situations. We want to set people up for success. So if we were to kind of sum it all up, it's the importance, if it hasn't resonated before, I'll be so explicit. We all need to work on our self-awareness. When I first read that stat, I was shocked. So many of us, 95% or whatever that stat was, think that we are so self-aware, but in actuality, it's less than 25%. So whether we go with the 15% or the 20, like, it's under 25%. A lot of us have a lot of work to do. So having a growth mindset and understanding that we can develop our strengths, maybe we need to learn new strengths. Those are areas where there is room to grow and have a positive impact on not just work, but also at our home, in our home life. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share at this point, LJ. I know, yeah, for now, Sandra, I think we may want to open up and just check in to see if there are any comments, any questions.
Yes, as I'm looking here, I'm not seeing that there are any questions or that there are any comments, but we all know how LinkedIn Live works. Sometimes they come
Sure.
through and sometimes they do not come through. But I want to actually ask you a question
Hmm.
because I actually have worked under management before that was very micromanaging.
Hmm.
And I don't like, I'm the type of person that if you give me something, you need to be aware that it's going to get done. Don't every
Hmm.
5 minutes ask me what the status is or do I
Hmm.
need help? Because if I need help, I'll actually ask you,
Right.
you gave me this to do, but I need some help. I'm not going to sit there and not do it. So, how does someone, I mean, what is the best
Right.
workaround for that?
I love that question. I love that question. Um, One of the first sage powers that we employ is that of empathy. So it's a difficult place to be, feeling pressured, gaslit, micromanaged. Nobody wants to be in that situation. So many things. We may need to learn how to say that nicely in a way that everybody still feels like they won, right? That person who is being so controlling and keeping you under the thumb, they may not even understand. That's like this person that we just used in this illustration. They may not even understand that that's how they're coming across because they just want to get stuff done. They're feeling all kinds of pressure to perform and to look good doing it. So they don't understand that they're lost in their own heads and they're completely forgetting that there's a human element, right? There are people that we're dealing with, and we need to tread differently sometimes. It's not just all about the data and the problem solving. We may need to tap into those softer skills and understand we all want a positive outcome, we all want great results. But being singularly focused on just that and not caring about how we go about that, some people just may skip over that. They just may lose sight of that that's what they're actually doing. And so that's how I would respond to that. It's taking a lot of ownership. Like if that's how you're feeling, you have to know how to communicate that. But then you also have to develop that sense of empathy for the person who's doing it, which is not easy because we're hurt and we're upset and we're not liking that feeling. But at some point, we do have to take responsibility for what we can, which is ourselves and our response and our perspective. I don't know if LJ, you wanted to jump in with a perspective or share your thoughts on that. You're muted, I think.
Sorry, I muted myself because of the dogs. I apologize about the dogs if you could hear them. No, I was saying, Lark, that I have nothing to add because that was perfect.
Okay.
Sandra,
Good.
did it resonate with you? Now you're on mute.
It did resonate with me, and that's a work environment. But how do we as women take that? Say we're in a relationship, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we going through that same exact thing in a relationship because we're in a relationship, we're not in, and whether this is a friendship relationship, like
Mhm.
whether you have a good friend, right? Really close friend, but she's very, very, or he's very, very controlling. Like they want to
Mhm.
just control everything. They don't want you to have anything to do with it. You're just a friend, just be quiet and go along with what I'm telling you to go along with, right? Or
Right.
even for a married woman that's in a relationship
Right.
and is going through this, is it, I mean, how do you work around that aspect?
So you know what I would do in a situation like that, honestly? Well, we didn't talk about the whole PQ thing, right? Mental fitness is all about PQ reps, which is taking a pause, just getting centered, getting to that part of your brain that's not fear-based, anger-based, frustration-based, and getting to that part that allows you to think clearly and navigate through, listen, how do I really want this to end? All right. And that is when you are clear that no, what I really want is to let this person know I am feeling pressured, ignored. Like this is not a good feeling for me right now. it's being able to articulate that. So in an instance like what you just shared, I may say something like, I get that what you want is for us to blah blah blah, but I actually have a thought too. I'd love to share it right now. Like, say what you need.
Mhm.
State the fact as you're feeling, because only you for sure know how you feel. Others may just completely misread the situation. They may not even understand that their behavior is impacting you the way that it actually is, or as much as it is. Sometimes people need to hear it in your words. But then we also have to be clear with what the ask is. Because as women, we do a lot of like, and you made me feel this way. And there's a lot of blaming and finger pointing and taking up that stance. Not helpful, not helpful, right? We need to take ownership of how we're feeling. I'm not liking how I'm feeling railroaded right now. I'm feeling like I can't get my voice heard. Do my feelings matter too? If they do, I'd really love the opportunity to share. Can I share them right now? I really want you to hear me here. I have another perspective. We do have to be a little bit more proactive with owning how we feel, making it clear how we're feeling, and also being clear on what the ask is. What it is you want. You just want to complain and be heard? Okay, fine. There's a place for that. But if you truly want to contribute to the conversation, then state your ask, state what your need is. Maybe it's a need that you have. I need for you to give me 30 seconds to finish what I'm saying. Or I need you to consider blah, blah, blah. So, I hope I'm making that point
Yes,
clearly.
it is. You are actually making that really clear, because as a woman, a lot of times I know I fall guilty of it sometimes too, right?
We all
We
are
don't
guilty of it
say
sometimes.
we don't say what we want, right? We go
Mhm.
along with it because we want to, we want to play nice. We don't want to get in an
Mhm.
argument. We don't get, we like this friend. We don't want this friend's, feelings to be hurt. And so a lot of times we don't say anything, but then in playing into that, what are we doing to ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Like, I often sit and I'm like, you know what? I just let them get away with that. Now here I am mad because I let them get away with something instead of actually speaking up and saying, I hear you, but let's look at it like this. Like, what if we do it this way? Or why does it have to all the time be done the certain way that you want it to be done? Um,
Mhm.
and so it comes up in, it just bothers me, and I'm the person, right? So once again, what you just said makes so much sense, is it's all on me, right? It's all on the other person. If you're in a relationship and you're not talking or you're not sharing how you feel, but you're letting the other person run the course, run a gambit, then that's on you, right? What can you do, right?
Yeah.
But so many times as women, that's what we do. We're the nurturers.
Mhm.
We nurture things instead of breaking out of it. So that makes a whole lot of sense, and I'm very, very glad that you actually brought that up. But on that same token, now we're going to take this out of the relationship and out of the friendship relationship with your husband or your girlfriend or boyfriend, and we're going to take a look, or I want you to take a look at another sector where this actually also comes in play. And that's especially for women, and is especially for women that have teenagers at home
Mhm.
that actually fall into, I want this done now, or even younger than teenagers, as they're adulting through life. How do we have that adulting conversation with them when it comes down to when it comes down to them?
That is so funny. Two things I want to share here. One is funny that you're asking me about this today, because literally earlier today, one of my clients is a mom, single mom, son who is 15, going to be 16 soon. And so she is in it. She's in it with him. And so we were actually talking about some outcomes that she just had to let me know, with her ability to PQ and self regulate, and how that panned out. But I will share that. And I'll also share that Lark Hair volunteered to be child free. So I am not speaking about personally having to deal with any teenage drama. All right. But through clients, I get to I get to celebrate that that's their journey, and I get to be auntie and support and coach. Um, so, Elder, I do have some stuff to jump in. I don't know if you had something because you
I
might be
do,
a
but
little bit
you go
more.
tell your story. I'm eager to
Yeah,
hear, and then
okay.
I can comment
So
after.
so this is one of my clients. She's actually winding down the 7-week program, and she said to me, "Oh my gosh, this PQ thing really works." So her son plays football. You guys call it soccer, I guess. And he's tired because it was a long day, and so he's grumpy, doesn't want to go to school, and he's trying to do all of the drama and the tantrum things. And she says, "You know what? Not today." So she made her coffee. She went and she sat outside. She did her PQ reps, right, which is self-regulating, getting to the part of your brain, getting to that problem solving, clear thinking, calm. She doesn't match his energy. She just says to him, "Listen, I know you had a long day yesterday. You're going to get picked up in like 40 minutes. So get your act together. We're not doing the da 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 da." And literally, she says, "This has, usually if it'd be the back and forth and the this and the that, and it would go on and on and on." And she just left and walked outside. She says, "You would not believe what happened. I spun around, and before you know it, this kid's like getting the shirt all laid out and he's getting himself together." And she's like, "It's like a miracle." She had no idea that this was remotely possible, right? But she's been at this for a while. So it was just amazing hearing her share that story, because when we first started, those were not the stories I would hear. So that's just my experience with that. It's owning where you are and not matching. There's something called saboteur contagion, right? If there's negative energy in a space, if somebody is just coming at you in confrontation, one way to diffuse that scenario is to truly not match. Don't add gasoline into that. Don't fuel that. You just let it fizzle itself out, but you maintain your stage presence. You just state where you are. You state what you need. You give them all of the positive energy, and you just dial it back. In her case, it played out like textbook today. So, LJ, let's hear your story or your take.
Well, there were a couple of things, just back to what you were sharing before about using I versus you. That is
Right.
just so critical. I mean,
Yes.
we can leave the word you out because
Right.
it's assigning blame, and then people get defensive, right? They get their backs up. So I feel, I think, I whatever. That was one thing. And then the other one relates to what Sandra was saying, but also to your story, is taking the time to calm the system. When you are, upset, overextended, hijacked, it's a situation that's happened before, and you're so fed up, you're in a heightened emotional state, and you need to calm, as you shared, and that can be super simple to do, taking some breaths, rubbing your hands together, etc. So those are some critical points. Something I wanted to say to add on to what Sandra said is, Sandra, you said that in the relationship with a friend, what is it doing to you if you don't say anything? And I would add to that, 100% aligned with, what is it doing to you if you're constantly giving in or feeling railroaded? But what is it doing to your friend? Because they're probably doing this to other people. So I had a huge, hit me between the eyes this summer, where I'm a bit of a pleaser. So I don't like when people give things to me, or, I want to do for them. I'm not as good at receiving. And I had a situation where a friend of my son's was doing something absolutely amazing for my family in a very emotional situation. And I kept saying, no, I'll do it. And then finally, what I realized is I was taking away something from him. Right? So I was hurting him by taking away the joy he got in giving, because I was having such a hard time receiving. And so even in the story that you shared about maybe a friend who's very controlling, if we don't speak up, we're letting them continue in a negative way too, because they're not aware. That makes sense?
It does. It makes sense. But there's a difference between, and you help me if I'm wrong. There's a difference between a friend that knows what she's doing or he's doing and continues to do it, and a friend that has no idea that how they're coming across is very, very negative. And so that's why I brought up that question. I just wanted to know because I actually had a friend like that was very, very controlling. My choice was to just walk away from it and just leave it alone because I'm like, okay, well, if you're my friend and you know what I'm going through, but all I can hear from you is, okay, well, you're going to do it like this, or you're going to get it done like that, or why don't you do this, in a very condescending way, then it's not allowing me as I'm supposed to be your friend. It's not allowing me to like figure it out or even like come to you as my friend and talk to you about what's bothering me. And so I'm like, okay, so what's the point? I mean, I'm looking for positivity here. And while I enjoy, being friends and enjoy your company, I just can't seem to move myself about that way. And there's so many others that I know that are for lack of another word, are allowing people that are negating what they're doing in life. They're like letting them negate what they're doing because they're constantly around them. And instead of them moving on and saying, okay, well, this friendship isn't working, and they just decide that, okay, I'm gonna stay here because I'm comfortable, right? I mean, for lack of another word, I'm comfortable here because I know you and you know me. And so I'm going to accept this because I don't want to be without a friend.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as I often ask them, but are they really your friends?
Yeah. If you've spoken up and they haven't listened,
right?
Yeah, time to break up.
And so both of you answer my question. It's like excellently because is it okay to walk away from a friendship that you think is literally just like bogging you down? Like you want to go left and they're like, no, we ain't going left. We ain't even trying to go left. We gonna go right because this is the way I want to go. And this is the way I always want to go. Right. So that you did in fact answer that question. I do have another question to ask you before we get ready to wrap up. And that is this. I said it earlier, I know Lark and LJ from their LinkedIn Wednesday chat room that they have. But I want them to tell you a little bit about the saboteurs. And Lark brought it up a little bit with the PQs, but I think that it's going to be really critical for those of you that are, whether you're listening now or you're listening later, and you're like, okay, well, I want to know about what they're talking about. What exactly is a saboteur? And just fill us in on what exactly a saboteur is.
Sure thing. Okay, so a saboteur is language that we use in mental fitness, and it equates to negative emotions, horrible thoughts, thought patterns that don't serve you. So in the example that we shared with the young woman, for example, it's I can quit. They don't like me. Life sucks. I mean, they just hate me. And those are saboteurs. Saboteurs are not necessarily quote unquote bad things. In the language of mental fitness, what I always want to impress upon people is those are alerts. Those are signals. Those are like, get to moving. Like you either need to take an action, do some evaluation. There's some learning here. There's growth here. It's an opportunity to stop and pause so that you can clear your mind and then make another decision. So that's a saboteur. A saboteur is, I'll give you some names of some of them. So we did throw out the controller. That's one, right? That's one that we actually showed you model out a little bit with that person that we gave life to. The controller, the one who wants to take charge, and they are very clear on the path forward, and it has to be done this way, my way, because it's the way, it's the best way, it's the only way actually, right? So there's that's one saboteur. Then there's the hyperachiever. They just have to be first every time, all the time, in every situation. They need that external validation, that pat on the head, like everything at all cost, they have to be number one, right? So that's another saboteur. It is great to aspire for more. It is fantastic to want the absolute best for yourself. when you are chasing that so that your whole sense of self and self value is tied to that, that is not serving you anymore. That's where other people's emotions and sensitivities just get casualties to your personal ambition. Nobody wants to work with you because they recognize that it's all about you all the time. You have no consideration for others along the way. So those are two. The other one LJ mentioned about the pleaser, the people pleaser, the yes, yes, yes. You really find you can't say no. But there's that low grade resentment going because I could never get my way. I could never get my satisfaction. Like I can never do what I want to do because I'm so busy saying yes all the time because I'm so fearful of saying no because I want you to like me. I just want to get along. I just want to go along. That people pleasing is another saboteur. So
Road to burnout.
the road to burnout, exactly, right? You wear yourself ragged in that hijack state. So that's some of the saboteurs. Now we work in mental fitness. What we're working on is our saboteur interceptor muscle. So we learn to like take your hand off a hot. If you inadvertently rest your hand on a hot stove, you will immediately withdraw your hand. You wouldn't sit there wallowing, in the heat and have your hands destroyed. So we work on the interceptor muscle so that we don't get hijacked. We talk about the self-command muscle. That's the ability to shift into what we spoke about with the stallion story, the sage perspective. This is a thing that's happening. The woman, she got an evaluation. That's all that happened. It wasn't a good thing or a bad thing. It's a thing. She got an evaluation. Was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? In that scenario, that could have been the best that could have been the best wake-up call she ever got in her entire life to become an absolute superstar. Not just technically, but in her ability to manage herself and regulate her team and get everybody together on one page because she's made all of those silly mistakes before. That could have been an opportunity. That could have been an opportunity, right? So that's some of the language that we use. That's some of the illustration. And I also, as we're winding down, want to make sure I let everyone know that a lot of what LJ does is, LJ, sorry, I'm not going to speak for you, but we are marrying two programs together that leverage strengths from each of what we want to do so that people can identify what their traits are, what their tendencies, preferences are. And when we can identify those things, now we can work on them over the course of time, right? This woman I told you about with the 15-year-old son, this is the end of her 6 weeks. And she is like, wow, really implementing and embodying that stuff. But it had to start with her understanding who she was and what her preferences were. How does she function under stress? She had to learn how to recognize that and how to self-regulate so that she can then make different decisions. LJ, I don't know if you wanted to jump in here and talk about Luminar a little bit.
Just the only word that I would add is, often our preferences are our strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Right.
things you don't prefer, maybe not be strengths, but they're not necessarily weaknesses, and you can develop them. So that's it. That's the only thing I'd add. Lark, you spoke for me very well.
Sorry. Yeah.
I know you, the two partners in crime.
Yeah, exactly.
See that's
But
me
that's
feeling a little
good.
pressure. Like, oh my gosh, we're gonna run out of time. But yeah, so thank you for that. And that's such an important point to highlight. It's like you could identify your strengths, not just your preferences, your strengths too, and then learn how to hone those in. Yes.
You know what? And that's what works best, right? Is when you recognize your strengths and you recognize the other person's strengths as well. And you two kind of marry up in the middle and understand what each has as a strength and what each has as a weakness. No one has all the answers. It's not easy being a woman in today's society, no matter how you look at it, whether it's something mental or physical. It's not. We have a large load that we carry, shoulder that our shoulders aren't wide enough to carry everything that we sometimes are forced to carry. So it helps to actually be able to recognize, what saboteur you are, or to hear them constantly talk about it, to introduce the PQs to you, introduce the ways to you in which you can release some of that stress without you going into overdrive, without you facing that burden, right, of burnout. It's real. It's really real for us. And it's good that, Lark and LJ came into this evening and shared, their thoughts and their concepts with us, because we need to know. There's so much out here for women that we don't know and that we really don't understand. No one is going to come and shake our hand and hold it for us while we learn these things. But just knowing that they are a resource that can be used. And if you're like, well, I really want to do this, but let me just check them out some more. Please you can look at both of them on LinkedIn. Lark and LJ, I'm not sure if you're on other platforms, but if you are on other platforms, if you can let us know what platforms those are and how else we can actually reach out to you if there are, in fact, people that want to reach out. For those of you that do enter comments, if you enter comments on LinkedIn, I will take a look at those comments, and if it's for LJ and Lark, I will make sure if they get them. Same thing with Facebook. If you're putting links in or comments in, I will make sure that they get them in order for them to actually answer them. If, like I always say every night, if you need this video because you want to share it with people, please reach out to me and say, Sandra, can I have the video? These videos, these sessions, the Black History Month, as well as Women's International History Month, are being done because we need to share the information. There's too many of us walking around, too many people, I should say, walking around without information that is right there at their fingertips. They just do not know how to access it. And the only way for us to get anywhere in this world, especially when it comes to healthcare, is for us to begin to share and collaborate. Competing is not an option. Share and collaborate. So if there's something that you need, please make sure you reach out so that I can make sure that you get the information. So with me being quiet, I'm going to go ahead and let Lark and LJ tell you where they can be best reached at.
Sure. So I am on LinkedIn, Lark Ambrose, and you will see me. I'm the one who has got the beautiful background of the ocean and all of that good stuff. I am also on Facebook. I don't check that and I don't engage with that as much. So definitely LinkedIn is the way to go. And I have a YouTube channel. I think I have under 10 subscribers, but I'm really looking to start building that. It's called the People Pods channel. So please, it's got 2 intersecting P's. Help me grow my channel. That would be rock star. I really want to get more present on YouTube. So that's me, and that's my presence on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Oh yes, and I was recently introduced to Threads. Didn't even know that was a thing. So it's Coach Lark 1609. So at Coach Lark 1609. So that's me and my handles, and that's me. LJ.
I'm LJ Vio, and I am only on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm not quite as advanced as Lark. But I will say that if you're working in healthcare and if there's anything to do with pharmaceutical companies that you want some insights on, by all means, reach out. There may be ways I can help if that is part of your advocating. So just wanted to throw that out there because I've worked in pharma for a very long time. But happy to hear from anybody. And, we can change. We can be empowered. We can empower ourselves. To change and grow and stand up for ourselves. So reach out if you're curious.
And thank you so much for that. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this session for this evening. We will be taking a break tomorrow, and we will be back on Tuesday. We'll be back on Wednesday with bone density. So please, continue to watch us, continue to send us the support and the love that we've been receiving. Is all about making sure that we move forward together. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and thank Mark and LJ from both myself as well as the C.H.L.M.S board, and want you to enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Sandra.